The rules are as follows. I must complete the full main story in the base vanilla game, no mods. I can only use weapons that aren't firearms. The bow, tomahawks, throwing knives, melee, lasso, dynamite, etc. Unless the game forces my hand, allowing firearms if it's completely not possible to progress otherwise. Many times in game you'll have to save someone in a forced deadeye. The game doesn't always let you toggle your weapon wheel. In these cases, I'll attempt disarming weapons. If this is ineffective, I'll shoot for less lethal areas, like the arms or legs. On stagecoach missions, you can't use your bow or throwable projectiles. In this scenario, if I absolutely must, I'll shoot the horses. Sorry, PETA. In cases like sniping, I'll allow leg or arm shots. In cases where brute force melee just won't make the grade, I'll shoot in the legs or arms as well. As to whether that's a fail state, I'll decide accordingly. Consumable items and deadeye are allowed. Anything I can't progress, I'll skip the segment, allowing myself to replay the missions at a later time. All missions replayed will be stated in the upper left corner simply as replayed, essentially putting a failed asterisk blemish on the run until either I complete it later on the replay or take the loss. And finally, rule 5, I can bust a cap into Micah's bitch ass. Starting off in a blizzard on the lam from the law, from our foul deeds in Blackwater, we end up in the first combat scenario in the game, on the Adler's Ranch. It's no problem body slamming some O'Driscoll boys and opening them up like prom night. Beat up the one hiding in the barn and we're good to go. Up next, we crash a furry convention, slice and dice up some chaotic canines. On horseback, it's easy enough to simply run over the four-legged fiends, saving John from becoming a Happy Meal. Woof woof, motherfucker. Hunt deer, obtaining the bow. Then off we go, intercepting some O'Driscoll boys' plans, stealing their dynamite without a hiccup, putting so many fucking arrows into them, the authorities will think the Wapiti Indians were responsible. Chase down Kyrian, and mission fruitions for an easy success. Back in the saddle, we rob a train for Daddy Dutch, my first failed state so early on. No matter what I did in the second part of this section, Lenny kept dying, a reoccurring theme in this run. The problem was largely game design. Before you jump onto the train, no matter what I tried, the game would switch out my bow, making the section when the train halts to a stop extremely difficult to brute force with nothing more than a hunting knife. Sometime later in the playthrough, I replayed this section and was able to complete it just fine with nothing more than the knife. Therefore, passing this mission, falling back onto the replay being a loud rule.
Lenny? Hey, Lenny! Found you, Lenny!
More often than not, the game is designed around downing enemies swiftly, in terms of whether you put enough pressure on dropping enemies fast enough, in order to keep your allies alive and well. Many who have spent time in this game also know the constant weapon swapping for whatever fucking reason between missions, and even between horseback or getting off your horse, is a real annoyance in Red Dead 2. Many times throughout this playthrough, I had to dismount my horse, select my desired weapons, then walk to a mission beforehand, in order to retain a custom loadout that I actually chose. Otherwise, the game said, fuck you bro, bending me over a barrel, giving me whatever weapons it thought I should have.
You two all right? Okay. See you back at camp. Hey! Hey, you! Who's talking now? Are you crazy?
Starting up some shit in Valentine's Saloon, we brawl with Big Boy Tommy. Do some work for Strauss on some no good do-gooder debtors. Baby better have my fucking money. Attempting an ambush on Como Driscoll's bitch ass alongside soon to be one of the gang's Kyrian, going full Ezio with our newly acquired throwing knives. Save the Reverend from himself. Get to second base with a Ursine alongside Hosea.
Easy. No, it's too close.
Assert my dominance over some O'Driscoll boys. Then we're off to break out the youthful vigor that is the future. The unlucky Irishman Sean, on the outskirts of Blackwater. Turn it down for what mode compels Arthur to morph into a Mongol archer, becoming the backbone, carrying the plebs along the way. I say fuck a knife and Robin Hood style the rope. Unfortunately, the game forces us to free the vermin that is the punk-ass Micah, the shooting gallery in Strawberry after Micah makes a house visit for his guns back, which he holds so dear to his stone heart in this world, was absolutely no problem, throwing some tomahawks and knives all along the way before dealing with the pursuers on horseback with my trusty bow. Easy peasy. Next up, we team up with John, Charles, and of course the unlucky Irishman himself, Sean. This is when he realized he fucked up. This mission was a blast, and honestly, I was feeling this shit at this point. There's always a damn train, so off we go to rob it, and robbing it good with our boys. The second section of this part, when a bunch of reinforcements come in to wreck the day, was actually somewhat difficult, relying on my Deadeye to get enemies down fast. Otherwise, Sean would get domed. It was nothing crazy hard, but definitely wasn't just mindless. Next, we help Micah's bitch ass get a peace offering for Daddy Dutch. It was easy enough all the way through. We let some arrows fly on the stagecoach and did ditto pretty much on the O'Driscoll boys.
This little mess.
That should do it.
I was forced in using a gun, playing Shepherd alongside Mr. Marston, but it was just in spooking them off of their lifeblood. The final showdown before the gang departs Horseshoe Overlook put me in one of those forced Deadeye situations. This one didn't let me toggle my weapon wheel. I tried shooting the ground, not hitting anyone, that didn't work. I tried shooting the bastard in the arm or leg, but apparently he smoked a Sherm stick beforehand, completely unfazed by the bullet. I had to headshot the first guy holding John hostage, then the rest was smooth sailing. I decided, according to Rule 2, this wasn't a fail state, though technically, the game did force me to use a gun in killing a hostile. Yet for the sake of the rule sets, this wasn't a fail state. The rest of the ensuing firefight went fine, using dynamite, my knife, and so on before getting a shook up Strauss on horseback, proceeding and riding away, escaping the law, completely fine otherwise. Being ran out of Dodge Valentine style, clearing out Clemens Point from some Lemoyne Raiders begins chapter 3 of the game. Ingratiating ourselves with the local law of roads, jacking some moonshine from a Lemoyne Raiders operation Shining for the Braithwaites. One of the coolest missions in my opinion in the game, and of course was fine, having complete access of all of my weapons at hand. Running into yet some more Lemoyne Raiders alongside Sadie on a grocery trip, finally coming out of her cocoon of trauma, proves no issue for Arthur the Barbarian. In typical fashion, a lightly guarded stagecoach turns out to be a, of course, heavily guarded stagecoach, and off we trot, slinging arrows via horseback on any would-be pursuers. We end up laying low in a shed, only to be caught by some patrols, run off into the woods, kill some dudes stealth style, and good to go. Teaming up with Lenny, we clear out our future crib, the Chicka Chicka Real Slim Shady Belle. jacking some weapons for our trouble. After that, we distribute some liquor, playing Dumbo as Fenton alongside Hosea. This mission goes smoothly until the stagecoach getaway section comes up, having to fall back on Rule 2, where I'm allowed to shoot pursuers' horses only when I really have to. And I had to, feeling bad all the way on busting the brains out of these majestic herbivores, but I kept reminding myself, whatever it takes.
Alright, we're good.
Yeah.
Look, over there!
Robbing Valentine's bank goes fine. We steal Braithwaite's prized horses. Save Trelawney. We burn them battlefields Far Cry style.
Alright, let's get out of this shithole!
Sean, the unlucky Irishman, really lives up to his name, getting capped, causing the final showdown in Rhodes. It goes fine until the forced Deadeye standoff, but I was able to shoot the Grey in the arm, saving Bill, and let the rest of the gang finish them off with no problem. Make a social call back to the crone of the Braithwaites. That also went without a hiccup until I had to breach the door alongside John. But again, I just shot them in the legs and was good to go.
I knew you'd come soon enough. You are some of the coward.
You little bastard!
I actually stumbled into, by complete accident, the broken pirate sword while fishing, and felt, hell yeah, this fits this run through, snagging it up. Hog tied me up Anthony Foreman after rescuing Tilly, leaving no loose ends.
I agree with you. Sorry, partner.
Next up was the riverboat robbery. In a forced deadeye, I had to shoot the man opening the safe for the Rootlinger watch, but I shot him in the hand. And honestly, I wasn't sure in deciding a fail state or not for the second final stage of this mission. Part of me is more inclined in agreeing it's a fail state. The problem was, Javier just melted. Even on replays, the game wouldn't bestow thee with any dynamite, throwing knives, Molotovs, tomahawks, or so on, like it does sometimes when replaying certain missions, tipping the scales in our favor. I tried countless times in brute forcing with just my knife. I tried simply running past them, jumping overboard, but in Rockstar fashion would get a deserted fail state without clearing some of the men beforehand. I tried doing nothing, taking my opportunities behind cover when they came up, but Javier would simply just die. Ultimately, I ended up shooting them in the legs and proceeding, deciding if this was a fail state or not at the end, but due to the ability to use a knife on otherwise non-forced deadeye situation enemies, and them not being on horseback pursuing us, I feel like this is my first fail state of this run, probably will come to that conclusion by the end. Saying baby bye 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 to Kyrian, the O'Driscoll boy turned Dutch's boy, spurs the O'Driscoll ambush on Chicka Chicka Slim Shady Bell. Legolas shooting my way through hastily, then Dutch insists stupidly that we follow up the post office robbery tip in Santonese. This section, when getting on the trolley car, I had to shoot pursuers in the legs or Lenny would die.
Lenny! Bastard!
The all-out firefight traversing through Saint Denis was easy enough, then on the stagecoach section, unfortunately was forced into scrambling more herbivore brains in order to come out on the other side successful. Helped Eagleflies get some documents for his people at the Cornwall Kerosene and Oil Company, then on to mucking around a bayou for some crayfish before throwing some knives at a big old bull gator. Playing Vengeance is an Idiot's game, we light up Angelo Bronte's crib, Katy Perry style. The final part, while carrying the unconscious Angelo Bronte and a bunch of crooked kappas show up to wreck the party, I could only use guns, but it was no issue. I just simply ran by them, made it to the boat, and they vanished, like a rogue in World of Warcraft.
Think we got a problem out here?
Stranded on Tahiti, I mean Gorma, we end up on a chain gang. This first section was easy enough to stealth kill the first dude, then let the rest of the boys finish him off. The next section was easy enough, Hulk slamming mofos, beating them up One Punch Man style. The mission where you have to save the prisoners of war, I had to shoot down the rope, and the last final guy I shot in the arm, having no projectiles to deal with him otherwise. The rest of the dudes I sliced and diced. Saving Javier, I fully admit, I was worried about this mission beforehand pretty much the whole playthrough, but you can just brute force through them with a couple of health cures at most. Slamming and slicing. The final section where Arthur is on his own and you're instructed to finish off the rest of the men in a ravine was fucking brutal, and took me quite a bit of tries in like 12 minutes to complete it. I had to keep repositioning myself behind cover, getting them to patrol in different ways before taking any opportunity, but it was totally doable. This was a cool section of the run and actually was tough. The castle or fortress siege battle section was another part that was on my radar of concern from the very beginning. The very first part, I was able to soak up the majority of the bullets, doing nothing, letting Hercules, Dutch, and the others finish the rest of the enemies on the beach below. I get 2 fail states here, and again, not from me dying, but Dutch or Hercules. The second stage where you traverse down the stairs, Dutch would run around the corner like a fucking moron, getting capped in the fucking head time and time again. No matter what I did, I tried I don't even know how many times with the same outcome of deja vu repeated over and over. The command section where enemies breach the beach D-Day style, I tried everything. Commanding Dutch or Hercules, both on one side, one on the other side, while I jumped down to the beach killing enemies as they came in by boat. I tried doing every combination possible on every side from a command standpoint and being on either side of the beach. I didn't fail, I was fine, but Dutch or Hercules died like clockwork, no matter what I did here, giving me 2 fail states. It didn't seem possible without some throwables or dynamite or fire bottles, which even on replays, it didn't give me any. I really needed something like that in order to keep Hercules or Dutch afloat. Cannon the boat down, the remaining bits of Gorma was fine, using just my knife. Kick the gun in a cutscene, cannonball the tower, moving on. The Pinkerton welcome home party jumps me and the gang. I actually was unable to do this without a replay. A replay gave me the precious dynamite and Molotov cocktails, making this section much more manageable. I shot the initial dude on the turret once in the arm, then just went to town utilizing a mixture of weapons at my leisure, blasting, igniting, cutting, slicing, beating through the onslaught of Pinkerton pansies.
It's okay.
Flying like a bird, Nelly Furtado style, stunting on some O'Driscolls, chasing Sadie, went without a hiccup. I just had to make sure I had my bow, getting off my horse, and it kept my bow the entire mission through. Prison breaking Mr. Marston out of Sisika turned out quite easy, getting it on my first try. A really cool mission, but with full access to my bow and so on, proved no obstacle. The ending part where you get on the boat, I simply just bullet sponged the rest of the ride, doing literally nothing, making our escape. Finding out who the hell is Leviticus Cornwall, Dutch rips him a new corn hole. Then gore porn through Van Horn in typical fashion. Steal back Eagle Fly's horses. This is when he realized he fucked up. The stagecoach robbery alongside Bill for the precious cargo dynamite distraction. I had to shoot the horses on the second part, or Arthur done realize when he fucked up otherwise if I did nothing.
May God, in his infinite wisdom,
The sniping section, I was forced to shoot some O'Driscoll boys in the legs. Help Eagle Flies get captured, turning him eagle caged, jumping off a cliff alongside Dutch, escaping some soldier boys. Help out Rain's Fall. Fuck up the remaining O'Driscoll boys alongside Sadie, finishing the large majority of their presence and strength off.
Yeah.
Go rescue Caged Eagle or whatever fucking eagle alongside Charles for Rain's Fall. A fun mission, fitting pretty well of course with the bow from a lore standpoint. Duke it out with the Dukes of the oil monopoly, causing an all-out fuck around and find out battle at the Cornwall oil fields. The combat sections, I just penetrated the shit out of them. That's what she said. The part where Daddy Dutch leaves you for dead, I had to shoot the general or whoever the fuck this is. I forgot to be honest, but fits in line with the rule set, so it was fine. The next mission on the train robbery before reaching the collapsed bridge. The first combat section was by far the most fun I had during this entire run. It was weird how well this melee play style fit this section, making it extremely difficult, but it never felt artificially difficult. I had to really mix between different weapons throughout different sections of the train, watch my footing and character spacing, utilize dynamite, molotovs, and my knife. I didn't have access to my bow, but it made it even better.
stop the train. Whatever you do, do not stop the train.
The turret section on the train, I simply did nothing and didn't fire once and passed. Lay down some support cover for Sadie atop the lighthouse, sniping Pinkertons in the legs before Abigail ends Milton. Then we reach the end of my boy Arthur's adventure, fend off some Pinkertons for a while, running into the caves, coming out on top after climbing some ladders, say farewell to my Appaloosa spot, help John reach safety, fuck up the last Pinkertons in game before brawling with bitch ass Micah, concluding Arthur's story. Rest in peace, Arthur. Starting the epilogue, gaining player agency over John Marston, I rammed some bitches in the name of Pronghorn Ranch, sliced their bitch ass throats and shit down their gaping neck holes. Fuck the Laramie gang. Cut some more throats after a trip with my boy Jack into Strawberry. Then clear my future home of squatters at Beecher's Hope. Reconnect with Charles nearly a decade later, fucking up whatever Italian pricks took over after Angelo Bronte, and experience a big
He's a pussy cat.
Finley, get him out of here!
Skiing some Skinner boys, getting my tools back for building my future homestead. Did a bounty with Sadie to capture some Del Lobo hotshot. I had to snipe in this section, staying true to the old arm and leg shots. I only had to replay this second section after the sniping bit. Originally, it wasn't giving me any dynamite or anything, even when I visited shops to try and buy some. Bringing forth yet again the typical problem of Sadie getting fucking without any way to put pressure on downing enemies fast enough. I replayed the mission though, and woolah, I had dynamite. Rescued uncle from some Skinner brothers in order to keep him suffering from lumbago, or however the fuck you say it, and living upstairs in our attic at Beecher's Hope. I was in yet another identical Forrest Deadeye situation. After that, no biggie, just Robin Hooded out of the bitch. The rest of the game was smooth sailing, including Micah's mountaintop mission exacting revenge for our boy Arthur, allowing the capping of bitch-ass Micah. As the end nears and the slaughtering of Micah's gang plays out, the end really brings up the whole point of this video. Can I beat Red Dead Redemption 2 without using guns, following the rules or exceptions I put into play at the beginning of this video? No, I can't. It sucks because it's largely game design that prevents this. I love challenging games and overcoming obstacles, yet this game obviously is designed around using guns. More often than not, the game threw mountains instead of hurdles to overcome. Swapping my weapons around fucking constantly, driving me nuts, making this a very tedious run, along with constantly revisiting shops to keep stocked on arrows and throwables. But with all this said, you can complete way more than you'd first think without ever using a firearm than you would expect in a third-person action yeehaw shooter game. 3 parts was all I wasn't able to overcome in replaying missions. The riverboat section where you have to take out the men alongside Javier before jumping overboard. Javier kept dying using only a knife. The Guarma section where you come down the stairs on the fortress with Hercules and Dutch kept getting fucking wrecked, getting domed as soon as he turned the corner, like clockwork. And the Command D-Day beach style section before you use the cannon on the naval fleet ship. 3 parts was all I couldn't overcome on replays. The playstyle, honestly, I got used to it, and as soon as I was done with this run through, using guns really did feel weird. My total kill count with my melee and bow were 615 with the bow, 29 knockouts unarmed, 81 kills with throwing knives, 142 with the hunt, 78 with the pirate sword, 62 with tomahawks, 71 motherfuckers blown up with dynamite, and 29 with fire bottles or Molotov cocktails. I really do love Red Dead 2, and honestly got pretty emotional seeing Arthur's story play out again. It's such a sad fucking game, and even on this meme of a run, it tugged on my heartstrings revisiting all these characters again, this world again, this story again. It made me realize you don't see much games of this caliber very often, and I had a fucking blast replaying it and making this video. Thanks for watching.